to get information to set the plan. I appreciate where you're coming from, but my thought could be, or would be, that actually that's something you do on yourself and Manton do on a daily basis anyway, look at the best opportunities. So.
Well, we do, Mr. Chairman, and it comes back to our investment policy of how we invest that money. And our investment policy, which has, of course, gone out to the public in that consultation phase, states that our investments will be with AA-rated banks and trading banks. Bonds put the level of risk up for perhaps a modest increase in interest rates. But having said that, we're still looking at putting the money out for 6 and 12 months because the RWSS, the financial close, will at the moment appear to be by December 15 or February 16, and the money is needed. My understanding is that HBRC will call on this money first, and the money from the other funders will come in later. So we're still only looking at 12 to 18 months.
So what you're telling me is, in terms of the consultation process we've gone through and what you're currently doing, there's no opportunity to earn extra with that money? No. In my view, there isn't. No.
But you continue to look at it as well.
We can continue to look at it. We've got about 50% of that money out on a year duration now. Yeah, so we'd have to wait for the year. Right.
Councillor Hewitt.
So as we've gone through this process, I've learnt that there's an economic development cap on the rate in Wairoa, and I'm wondering how we can get that in process to have the same thing extended to Central Hawke's Bay.
So I could comment on that. It's a deprivation rate, which was not worked out by anyone around the table. We had quite a bit of work done on that. Yeah, Sean Bevan. But yeah, happy to hear more. But it wasn't a decision that this council made without any external advice. Is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, when the economic development rate was set up, I think we're going back about 5 years now, and there was a report put forward by Sean Bevan, and that's where the economic development rate was distributed 30% to the commercial and 70% to rural and urban, and that report alluded to deprivation in Wairoa and limited their rate to 5% of the total. And that same comment wasn't made about Central Hawke's Bay.
Could we have another look at it?
Certainly, I can get Mr. Bevan to, if that's the wish of council, he can re-look at his report, and changes would be, if changes are to be made, they are made through the revenue and financing policy or an amendment to that policy, because the policy is now in front of us as part of the LTP, so it would have to be an amendment to that policy, and the next opportunity would be through an annual planning process as an amendment, as a formal amendment.
Because it was consulted on as well. Yeah, good point. Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. While we're on the subject of the that economic development rate, the quoted examples that you've got here clearly show that for practically everybody it's $3.75 increase or something. It's,
for urban and rural.
The lot. They only pay
residential
that.
And rural.
Yeah. But when we look at the comparison for commercial, there is quite a differential as to how some of those are increased. So could you, page 205 of the current plan, and I've gone back and compared it with the draft plan, which actually it doesn't have a page number on it. There are some of those commercial areas that obviously have a differential. I'm just not sure what it is. Can you explain why it is? Why, for instance, an accommodation business in Napier bears a much greater load of the increase than does an accommodation in Hastings?
It's, Councillor, it's driven off capital value.
Well, I couldn't make the difference related to the capital value.
So the higher the capital value, the greater the share. So
Just seemed to me to be
on page
a
200.
different percentage. But, so if it was off capital value, the percentage should be the same.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. On page 205, you've got the Napier, an example there, Napier Hotel, capital value of 3.1 million, which picks up a rate of 513, and then a shop on Emerson Street at 1.7 million, picking up 283. I haven't got a calculator to work that out, but I'm sure that that's right.
Chairman?
You will note that the bottom figure is actually vastly different, so is what the percentage increases are. So, you know, where does that come?
The change in percentage increase?
Yeah.
Or? Well, if we look at the second one in the Emerson Street, and these are example properties, the shop on Emerson Street, the consultation document supporting papers had the increase of just approximately $32, which is a 5.5% increase.
But here, sorry, it's got it 81, because this is what Councillor Scott's looking at, 81, and that's the increase.
That's right. So it's moved from, I think Councillor Scott's comparing it to the consultation document, are you not? Or endeavouring to?
I've had a look at the figures in the, not the consultation document, but the
Supporting papers.
Supporting
The supporting
papers.
papers, yeah. So supporting papers for that particular shop had an increase, had the level, the total rate increase at $32, and now that will go to 81. And the reason for that is the increase in the rate to the economic development rate to fund the commercial part of the tourism increase. So that's 30% of the 300 plus just.
If you look at the bottom line, can you tell me why you've got 10%, 14%, 6%, 5.5% increase?
Well, that increase.
Is it just because you're driving, if you're driving it off a low bottom line, you'd think it'd be bigger? Sorry. I just can't marry up where the higher differential is coming.
We'll have one more question from
Fine.
Councillor Barker, and then we'll break for lunch, actually. So, Councillor Barker.
I just want to make an observation, follow on from Councillor Hewitt's request for a review of that. And we said we were going to hire a particular economist. I'd like to take up the option put to us by previously about contestable advice, testing advice, and I would prefer it to be from an alternate to that.
Point noted. Let's break for lunch. Be back here at 1, please. And I would hope we could wrap this up by about 2, this discussion. So while you're eating your Sammies and what have you, think about that, please. But we'll be back here at 1. Recommence at 1. Thank you.